What?
What's that? It just sunk in? Yeah. Just goosebumps right now. Just as you dawned on it. All right, why don't we get started? As some of you just realized, this is the last class of the semester, technically. Now, for those of you who go, wait, what? What about next week? Don't forget we've got our exam next week. I'm going to be going over a lot of stuff today. We're going to be doing a couple things. We're going to be talking about the assignment. We're going to be talking about the exam, what to expect. I'm going to be doing something. We're going to be talking about 2D arrays. Then I'm going to do something that's a little different than the norm, which is we're going to be breaking into sections. So if you say, for example, want a little bit more of a brush up on arrays, I've got Ryan and Stephen are going to be telling you how they think of arrays when it comes to writing the assignment. And if you need a brush up on validation, or if you need a brush up on validation, I believe we've got if loops there, and there's something else that I'll be doing off to the side as well. So you can go into the different sections in the room so that you get a little bit of a brush up. So it's going to be, today's going to be more geared towards getting you ready for A, submitting the assignment if you haven't already done so, and B, for the final test. Okay? I'll go over everything now. So where do you go right to? I'm going to verify that. I've asked for the room, they haven't got back to me yet. It's a busy time of year though, so I'll let you know. All right, so the assignment discussion. I had a few of you reach out and express that express a desire, an interest, a passion for having the deadline extended, because it was a little bit too much this last week for you between my two, like my mini assignment and my main assignment, as well as everything else that you got on the go. So again, I've said it all semester long, I'm nothing if I'm not flexible. So what we're going to do is push the deadline on until next week. However, for those of you who already submitted the assignment, there'll be a 2% bonus regardless. Okay, so that way, those who are working on it this week aren't being penalized. Those who have already submitted it are actually being rewarded. So I think that that's the fairest and most equitable way. Like today's class, when you're writing into the sections, I've asked that Stephen and Ryan not go over their code with you, but talk about the theory behind their code. So that way, because as you know, if you ask them to share their code with you, that's academic dishonesty. But they can certainly say, okay, this is how I arrived at it. This is how I think about it. Okay? All right, so next week is the deadline for the, now, I wouldn't leave everything until Sunday. I really, truly, because you've got all your exams next week, you've got these two assignments have been extended, you've got my exam the following day. Probably not the best thing to do is to leave it until Sunday. Okay, so I've gone over that, what's expected, how this will assist your file. Okay, so one of the things that I realized was if I were to extend it for you with the final assignments, it's giving you a chance to code all this week. I know, last thing you want in the world is to have to code this week, but trust me when I say it, it's going to be a refresher for you. When you sit down in front of your final exam, you're going to look and go, oh, okay, yeah, actually, I was just working on that this week. And it should start to look familiar to you. So that's the logic behind it. Let's see. So I talked about what's expected, the marking scheme. So yeah, I've gone over that. I'm just going over everything. Actually, it's nice. 9 degrees. Yeah. Okay. Final exam or final test. those of you who get stressed out over final tests and exams and stuff, don't be. And I know that that's difficult for difficult to execute. Honestly, when I wrote my final exam in COMP1030, I was sitting in my instructor's office almost throwing up, literally, because it's not a word of exaggeration. And I felt bad for the guy because he didn't know what to do. So he tried to calm me down, and it's a stressful time because you've got all these other exams as well, and you think that you're not going to recall it all. So just trust me when I say this, it's not a big thing. It's just going to be an in-class assignment, basically. I'll go over that in a second, as well as some multiple choice questions. I've done it so that you've got multiple choice questions. So if you, for some reason, choke up in the practical portion, you can boost your marks that way. If you don't, you can really boost your marks that way. Okay? So I'm giving you the multiple choice. The multiple choice are generic things such as what's the definition of an array? What's the difference between an int and a string? Things like that, where it's going to be multiple choice. You've got the answer in front of you. What I recommend if you're going through and it's multiple choice, you think that you've got the right idea, usually it's best to trust your first instinct. So don't let yourself talk yourself out of answers. I was notorious for that. I'd sit in front of a multiple choice exam and I go, okay, it's definitely this. Then you look at it again and go, oh, well, actually, you know what? Maybe not this. Maybe it's this one. Oh, this one looks really good too. And then you end up changing your question. And then when you look at the final mark and you go, I was right the first time. So typically it's best to trust your own instincts unless that just jumps out at you. Maybe another question tips you back to this one and makes you go, oh, wait a minute, no, I was thinking of this instead of that. So for the practical portion, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a solution. I'm going to have the form already created. I'm going to have some code on the form, but it's not going to be functional. So then I'm going to tell you to do this and create a method, say, and call the method in on the button click. Or I might say, in this method, it's broken, fix it. So then it's working on your debugging. Another one that might be validation. So I think you guys have an idea where I would possibly use validation. The easiest one, this exam is not going to be designed to destroy you. So what would be possibly the easiest validation that I could give you that we've been going over all semester? Use loops to display arrays. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be going over that in the exam. Using if statements to validate text box entry. We did that earlier. Right? You got a question? Sorry. Oh, you're just piece man? Okay. So using if statements to validate text entry. If you think back to a lab that we did something like that already. So where I'm going with all of this, and these slides will be available on Blackboard, but where I'm going with all this is how you can study for this would be going back to all the assignments that we've done, if you have the time, and rewriting them. But don't look at your code. Just start from scratch. Start from, okay, I need to do this, go back, get it again, have a look at it, and then you can move forward. Yeah, right. Probably. I'm thinking, because I was looking at that last night and I was thinking about it. I don't think there's going to be an issue with that. I'll put the link up on the assignment or the exam if you are. I can't see why not. But the only problem with that is what I've learned in my other two classes is that you open the door just a little bit, then all of a sudden the floodgates open. So it's difficult to monitor internet usage. So that's why I'm kind of back and forth on it. But I don't think that an MSN docs is going to be a problem. All right. So combo boxes. We've talked about combo boxes and selected index. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit today. Debugging. I think you guys have had a lot of experience this semester in debugging. In fact, I've heard a lot of you come to the aha moments where you go, yeah, you know what? I've been debugging my own code. I've been fixing my where my part-time job, they've got code and I've been fixing their code for them. So you're familiar with it. If you can debug, you can code. It's because you're recognizing what's broken, what's not looking right. So, and then the last but not least is the dreaded GitHub. Okay, well, I gotta leave it on there because that's how you're going to be submitting your practical portion. Okay, so if that's the bane of your existence, here's what I'm going to suggest that you do, and this is what I'll allow you to do. Create the GitHub repository ahead of time. Invite me ahead of time. So that way, as one less thing. It gets to a certain point, and then just like, all this is great. And then it's like, you know, put your name and password in, it doesn't come up at all. And nothing moves forward. All right. We'll work on this. We'll see if we can work on that for you. The other thing that I'm thinking about doing, and I'm not 100% sold on it yet, because if you create your own repository in GitHub ahead of time, you invite me into the repository. Don't forget, it's going to be private. When you create a new repository, it gives you the instructions on what to do to push it through to the repository. So I was going to say I might allow you a cheat sheet for that, but if once you log into the GitHub, it's there anyhow. So all you have to do is just follow the instructions. I don't need a README file. Don't include a README file. Just forget it. It destroyed us one class, so forget the README. All right. So any questions on the final exam? Final exam. But what I'm going to ask though is that, well, no, okay, so no, because when you invite me to your repository, I'll say, yeah, just call it final exam. Like I say, I would strongly recommend this week set up your GitHub. That is one less stress in your life for your final exam. Anything else? Pretty straightforward. Everyone's excited. You want to start it today? All right. So, like I was mentioning earlier, how am I possibly going to study for this final test? It's 7 days. As a recommendation only, I can't tell you how to study because everyone is different. However, as a recommendation, go back to your labs and assignments. As I've been mentioning all semester, I will not give you an assignment that we haven't talked about in class. I will not give you exam questions that we have not talked about in class. So we're going up to 2D arrays this semester. All right, we're going to talk about 2D arrays. There might be a question on that, but that's about it. So go back to the time, and what I'll do, my homework for this week is to make sure all the PowerPoint slides are up there, although they're not very meaty, because most of the stuff that we did was in Visual Studio, and I'll go through and push as much of my code to GitHub as possible, so that way you guys have some study notes. I wouldn't recommend just copying it and trying to memorize it. That's not going to work for you. Redo the code and then look at the other stuff that you know is working, and then compare the two and say, okay, you know what, this is where it is. And some of the things that you're going to find when you go back to your old code is you're going to go, wow, did I ever improve this semester? I remember when I was writing this, and it's like, oh, I can't even think of how to do an if statement. But now, well, that's just second nature to me. So what it's going to also do is it's going to boost some confidence as well. And from what I've heard from some of the students, when we did that, where I think I am, where I'd like to be, where I actually am, this exercise, a lot of you are thinking that you're here because of your confidence, but you're actually up here. You do know the stuff. It's just a matter of executing. Okay, so then review the slides. The slides are going to be more of, like I say, they're not a whole lot of information. Like the last week's slide, if you think about it, was only 6 slides, and we talked about arrays at length. So there's not going to be a whole lot, but when I'm talking about multiple choice, it's really only going to be terms and this is the code, what's wrong with it, or this is the code, what's it going to produce, things along those lines. All right, any questions at all? I know Monday morning, week before the final, week before finals, because I'm sure I'm not your only final exam next week. How many assignments do you guys have for this coming week? A lot. And the tutoring service is no longer offering tutoring right now. They don't do it in the last 2 or 3 weeks of the semester. So, yeah. So, well, use each other's resources, because sometimes what you're going to find is the person beside you might understand what you're stuck on. Do not use the other person's code. I cannot stress that enough. I know for a fact that probably about 7 of the computer studies instructors have specialized software for code alone. So don't just copy and paste, try to do it yourself. Also on coding, don't forget in your final assignments, as well as your final exams, always make comments. Tell me, I don't care if it's a three-line comment where you have to, now everyone knows about multiple line comments, what you do with that, how you do that. For those of you who are sitting silently going, no, I don't. And you can put whatever you want in between those two. And that will give you your free flow to say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is why I'm doing it. This is what's supposed to happen, or whatever the case is. Okay, that's how you're going to find the questions indicated on your final. So I'm going to have the question on a piece of paper, say, and then the corresponding question is going to be very obvious in your code. So it's not like you're going to have to hunt and peck for it. All right. So today, teamwork is the ability to work together toward a vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishments towards an organizational objective. It's the fuel that allows common people to attain uncommon results. The reason I put teamwork up here today is because this is how we're going to be approaching the class. We're going to be approaching it as there's going to be now 3 of us to make sure that we're trying to answer as many questions as we can. As well, there's another 30 students out there as well. Again, ask your other students, hey, you know what, I'm kind of really confused about this. What do you think? Now, the other source is YouTube. YouTube has some great videos that can help you out. Just be sure that you've got a very specific question. So sometimes StackFlow is really good. Sometimes StackFlow reduces to an argument about who's better, Picard or Kirk. So you'll ask about arrays, and then all of a sudden, oh, you don't understand, and then it degenerates from there. So sometimes it gets a little modified. So YouTube videos are probably your best bet because you're actually seeing it executed, and as well as the StackFlow to a lesser extent. Okay, so 2D arrays. We talked about arrays. Well, we just kind of got our head around arrays. So what could possibly be more difficult? Well, 2D arrays aren't that difficult, but you notice how I haven't put 3D arrays. That's when it gets a little bit more complicated, and I don't want to complicate things before we're going into the final. So 2D arrays, what are they? Anybody? Okay, aside from the ones I know arrays. So anybody got any idea about what a 2D array would be? Emma? One of the elements is an array? Okay. Okay, so one would be an array. Okay, you're actually, I think I know where you're going with that, and you are right in your thinking. A 2D array is an array within an array. Yeah. Yeah, so the 3D array is like a matrix. Okay, well, I'm going to show the example so that because you're obviously understanding it, so everyone else can understand as well. So it's an array within an array. That's what we're going to describe it as. Okay, it's going to seem a little complicated. It's going to seem a little daunting. Take a breath, and you're going to look at it and go, you know what? This isn't actually more difficult than I had originally worked with original arrays with. So let's go into it. So what do we know about what we talked about already, which is arrays? What do we know about arrays? They start at 0. Number one thing, big point, because we're going to talk about it again. So they start at 0s. What else do we know about arrays? It can be that an integer string object? Did you steal your thunder? Okay. Anything else that we know about arrays? Okay, basically, an array is multiple values for a variable. So if we declare range, we can now, because of an array, list 6, 10, 20, 50, 200 different values for that same variable. We don't have to create grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. So it's a lot more effective as coding. So we know that if we've got this, we know that the positioning of this is in position 1 or element number 1. It's element number 3. It's 6. Okay, so, but what we do also know is that there's 4 elements to it, which is where it gets a little confusing, that there's 4 elements, but we only go up to 3 because it all starts at 0, like we talked about. So remember this, because it's going to get I think it's going to get easier. I think if I can impart it to you properly, it's good. You're going to go, oh, okay, yeah, actually, that's not too bad. So, all right, but what would be okay? So we talked a little bit about what a 2D array is, but what does that mean to us as programmers? All right, let's start again. What is a 2D array? Okay, so what does that mean now to us as programmers? Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I don't understand the correlation, but there's a second value. Okay, no, because when you're saying, yeah. Okay. Generally, yes. I'm going to demonstrate it, and ironically, in the class example, it's about the Leafs. So there you go. Because it was big news this weekend that they finally signed William Nylander. So we'll plan the parade because now we've got the cup. Well, okay, not quite. We don't have the defense now. So anyhow, all right. So why would we use a 2D array? And I'll open it up to Ryan, Stephen as well, because I blocked you too. But I'm going to go you first. Okay, similar related values. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. And we're going to talk about the rows and columns in just 1 second. Ryan? Yep, okay, and we're going to actually, that's how I'm going to demonstrate, not with Battleship, but that's how I'm going to demonstrate it. Although that would be a really cool teaching thing. So what Ryan mentioned was, everyone's played Battleship before? Or heard of Battleship before? No, not Battleship, Battleship. Okay. All right, basically, what a 2D array is, we're going to talk about the Battleship premise in just a second. But what a 2D array is, it can act like a spreadsheet for that. So similar to what Stephen was talking about, where you can have related information. So for example, name and email address. Now I'm only giving two pieces of data because we're talking about 2D arrays. Okay, but if we were talking about multi-dimensional, like 3, 4, 5, whatever, then you could have name, email address, student number. Actually, student number is more unique ID. So I'm going to say name, email, phone number, program that you're in, etc. So that way, when we're going through, we can programmatically set it so that we search for this student number, and it will pull up all of the elements in that multi-dimensional array. So, with all this said, Let's go into, you don't have to do this, you can just follow along. Any questions yet? No? Good. Sort of. All right, let's just start with the new one. Now I go to Excel because Excel is really, I'm trying to go the lesson on Sunday night with my wife, just explaining to her, okay, this is what I'm doing, because she's got very limited, well, now she's got an entire semester for programming, and she watched me go through an intro to programming semester, so she knows what not to do and now what to do. Well, I'm not going to say that, but when I explained it to her, she looked at me and now, has anybody done VBA with Excel? Okay, so Stephen has. Okay, when I was explaining it to her, she had her aha moment with the 2D arrays, because she said, "Oh, okay, that's a lot like Excel." And if you think about it, it really truly is. Now, what I'm going to suggest is suspend your belief for a minute and say 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1. Okay, but other than that, Excel is the same idea. So let's say, for example, we were to put in, okay, I'm going to make it easy because I'm going to go 1, 2. Oh, no, not. See that? Someone should have caught me. 0, 1. And then, yeah, okay. That I was trying to give an example. Now I'm giving an actual. But thank you, though, for pointing out my mistake. I appreciate that. Okay, so what we've got here now is 0, 0, 1, 1. It's going to be what your array takes first. So for today's class, I said that we were going to talk about Leafs. So I'm going to put 16. And for those of you who are Leaf fans, you know that's Mitch Marner. And then we're going to go 29. Now, it's been so long. He is 29, right? Yeah, okay. But it's important when you're putting his name on the cup. For Toronto, typically April. Okay, so, and what was the last one? Oh, I know, the big one. The nice thing about the blue is anyhow. All right, so what I've done here is I've created a two-dimensional grid, as you can see, about their jersey numbers and about their name. So based on this, what would you think if I were to say to you, show me Austin, the name Austin Matthews? What would be the coordinates for Austin Matthews? What is the name Austin Matthews? 1,4. 1,4. Okay, no, don't forget this is the. Forget this column now. Is here. Oh, right. That was 1,2. So what about the number 16? Okay, so 0, 0. Okay. What about 29? What will we have? 0, 1. What about Mitch Marner? 0. It's always row, column. So 0, 1. All right, so does that make sense to everybody? Or do you want me to go over it again? Yeah. So if I'm looking for William Nylander, I'm looking for 1 because that's the row, the column 1. Okay? and we express that as 1, 1. If I'm looking for Austin Matthews, we go, okay, so that's the
check the hospital. That's where you listed.
Yeah. The second row, so 2, 1. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, because like I say, it's really a significant piece because it is able to now start building almost a pseudo database. Because now when we create this, and like I said, we're only going to go 2D today because once you get into 3D, I was watching a YouTube video thinking, okay, maybe I can introduce it easy enough for these people. And honestly, the guy that did the YouTube video goes, okay, so okay, hold on. And this is in his videos. No, you do, no, that's not right either. No. So rather than confusing everybody, we're saying nice, compact, and you get the idea of multi-dimensional, you get how to do it. It's just 2D rather than anything else. All right, so does this make sense? We're going to go over one more time.
I just have one question. In and of itself.
Exactly, you're right within an array. Okay, but now how we express that array are one of 2 ways, but the one is like that, which means 4 rows, 2 columns. Okay? Now, when we're coding, I'm going to type in something where it's going to get a little, why are we not confusing? Why are we doing this? Now, when you're declaring an array, you use square brackets, basically saying, hey, this is an array. Now, when you're declaring, you put 1 comma in. And what happens is the rule of thumb when you're writing a 2-dimensional array is it's the number of commas plus 1. Okay? So 1 comma would mean it's a 2-dimensional array. Okay? Makes sense? Because we've got to express it. We've got to tell the program it's something different. So we've got this, which is a regular array, which is 0, which is 0, 0, we'll call it 0D. It's just regular array because there's only 1 row. Here, we've got 1, so it's a 2D array. So that would be a 3, 4, etc. So that's how you express what type of array we're going to be declaring. Does that make sense? Because I'm building piece by piece for you. Nick. Okay. Well, let's that's what that regular array. So we declare that with the square brackets. Right now, since we're doing and you go upstairs, the 2D. Yeah. Okay, actually, see, you got it. Well, there you go. So now, say for example, we would want to come up with a software package that displays the name of the team and how many points they've got. So we would go 1 comma because it's a 2D array, and then we would go like this. Well, actually, with quotation marks, but I'm just doing pseudocode. And then comma 38. Pounds would be 15. Oilers 10. Okay, so basically what we're saying is this is your standard array. Okay, that's this one here. But then when we introduce the second dimension, yeah, that's the extra column. Yeah, forget this example. I was just using that. Yeah, I would have to add how many more rows to make this true? 2 more rows.
Right now, what do you have?
Yes. No, it's a 2, because we've got 2 rows, 2 columns. Oh, sorry. Okay, actually, it's just a 1 2 right now. But I'd have to add another one. So, Blue Jays, etc. And then 3 points. Okay, so that would be the number of rows. So 1, 2, 3. So if I were to add another row here with the 2 elements, that would be a 3, 2. All right, does that make sense? So in the past, our array would be 16, 29, 34, 91. That's it. That's all we would be able to declare. But with a 2-dimensional, now we have the extra column. Now, I'm going to start coding it. So if you've got basic questions about the concept, now's a good time before I start throwing code up there. Everyone's good? Yeah. Yep. This is pseudocode. We're going to go through that in a second. I'm just trying to teach the general concept right now. And then we're going to, yes, technically this isn't the accurate way, but I haven't declared an array name. I haven't declared the type of array or anything else. So this is just to give the concept. All right. So are we good with the concept? Excellent. Let's open up. Oh, yep. What I want you to do with Visual Studio is I'd like you to add 2 text boxes and 2 or whatever you want to call them, and a button and a label. Again, whatever you want. I usually, if we're doing something basic, I would call it LBL output personally. Okay, so before I erase it, you might see next week, IPO. Input, process, output. We're not there yet. Some of us may never make it. Okay, so are we all there? So basically what the intent is that we're going to do is when we click the locate button, it will actually first we're going to enter in 2 coordinates. All right, and then we're going to click the locate, and it's going to pull up that element of the 2-dimensional array. Now, this would be a good spot. Now, this isn't a hint, this isn't in anything. Trust me when I say this. This is just me explaining to you, this would be a really good spot to have input validation. Because if you've got 4 rows, 2 columns, and you put in here 5, 2, you're going to get an out of bounds array here. Okay, so this is where it would be a good spot. We're not doing it. It's not necessary for the exercise in class, but just keep that in your mind for next semester if you have to do something like that. All right, so let's double click on the locate button. I'm pausing because I'm almost tempted to show you. You guys have all probably double clicked the wrong element at some point. Have you guys figured out how to get out of it? Okay, so I don't have to show you that because in the exam, the reason I'm pausing is because if you do double click the wrong element, I don't want you guys having to shut down your exam just so I'm done. I can't figure this out. Here's what I'll do. I'll tell you what. Here's my deal to you because I'm giving is Christmas. If you get into that situation, put up your hand, I'll come by and I'll walk you through on how to get through that exam. I don't want to convolute what we're doing. No, you can't comment it out. That still breaks it. You can't delete the code, it'll break the form. Just trust it. If you get into that position, put up your hand in the exam, I'll come by and I'll walk you out of it so that way you can continue with your stuff. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to create that same situation that I showed you in Excel, which is this. So we want 16 Mitch Marner, 29 William Helander, 34 Austin Matthews, 91 John Barnes. But what we're going to do for ease, just for ease for today, we're going to put 16, 29, 34, 91 as strings. We're not doing any calculation. We're not doing anything with it. They're just going to be strings. So what's the first thing that we want to do then? You think? Declare the array. So we would call it string. Exactly. So now this is where we were talking about it. So right now that's declaring just a standard array. But if you put the comma in there, now we're saying it's 2-dimensional. Okay? And we're going to call this this array, we'll call it, well, I'm going to call it Leafs players. You can call it whatever you'd like if you're not a Leafs fan. Whatever you'd like. It was okay. So what we've done so far is we've pulled the program is a 2D array. That's it. Now we have to instantiate the array. So we go equals, and then we type in. Well, let's clean it up a little bit. We type in new. Okay. It's multi-dimensional. It's 2-dimensional actually. And it's multi-dimensional. That's it. That's all we've done so far. And this should look familiar to your arrays that we talked about the last 2 weeks, right? Perfect. Okay, so now in this, now this is where it gets a little tricky. This is what we did earlier. Curly braces. Like the elements within curly braces. So for this one, we would go open the curly brace and we're going to go 16. Remember, even though 16 is technically an integer, we're putting it in quotation marks. Why? It's a string. Then comma. Everyone's got there so far. That's our first element. What do you think comes after that curly brace? You're there, but you're missing one keystroke. No, semicolon will end it, end the function, comma. So what we've done is we're basically saying this is a new row to our list. So comma.
That's your first row.
No, exactly, yes. So this will be 0, first row, comma, either 0 or 0, comma, 1. Okay? So now let's add the next one. Again, enclosing it in a curly brace. And we're going to go 2, 9, comma, and then we're going to add 34. And the last but not least is 91. Now, at the end of our array, we don't put the comma. Because now we're done. Working on it. What do we put in now? So the semicolon goes at the end of the encompassing curly braces. Now all of a sudden, what we've said is a string, it's 2D, the name of the actual array, new string, and then the first row, second row, third row, fourth row. First column, and then this is the second column. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm repeating a lot because this one I want you guys to walk up and go, okay, you know what, I get that. Just in case there's something on the final exam. I don't think I'm going to get you to code a 2D array, but I'm certainly going to get you to explain what it is. Meaning I might give you the code and say, what does this output? Okay. All right. So is everyone good so far? Or do you need time to... All right. So now this is all enclosed in the button click. So we want something to happen on button click. So now let's think pre-arrays. What would be the next step that we would want to do? What we've got the 2 input boxes. What do we want to do at that point? Well, first off, we have to declare the variables. So we're going to call it int input 1, we'll say. And because it's in a text box, what do we have to do? Okay. I heard Nick say for the string, because it's in string, we want to convert it into this. So we convert to int. All right. So let's go convert dot to int. I almost typed in string though, just so you know. Now, okay, so we've got the parentheses. So this is where we declare the text box input. Remember, and again, I'm going over this very methodically because some of this stuff can be applied to other things that we've learned this semester. So we go txt input 1 dot text. And then we just repeat it for input 2. Okay, so any questions on what we've done so far? Inputs in what one and two, converted them. Actually, that auto did it for me. I've got to remove the 32. I didn't notice that. It could be what, it could be an int. It could be an 16. Yeah, as long as it's int. But because I declared it as an int, I want to clean that up. And it won't like it. It doesn't like it. Okay. All right. So then we'll go. All right. Try to clean it up, but that's fine. Output. Okay, perfect. So we would go LBL. So what I've done now, LBL output, the least player, and in square brackets, I put input 1, which would be the row, and then input 2 is the column. Okay? So if we run this, if they just know them by numbers, well, then you just guess. You just guess. So it's not. All I'm trying to do is how to access the coordinates right now. So say, for example, if we wanted 0, we actually have to put in like each one that's it. 0, 1. Hold on. You don't have to change this right now. I'm just gonna. I've got my code here. I just want to convert it to exactly as I've done it because I want to see what's not working. Okay, let's try it again. Huh. All right, well, let's give that a try. 1, 1. Okay. Why was that? You know what? It was actually coded right. I just had a brain cramp. Why, when I just entered in the 1, was it going to that? And I didn't. Oh, it makes sense. You know, my brain didn't. My brain Monday morning. It didn't click in because what we're doing is we're saying if this is the 2D array and I've got 1 comma and I've got it like that. So the program's going, yeah, I have no idea. So sorry about that. So then all we have to do is just add in the second element. So both boxes need to be filled in. So say, for example, we were to go, okay, we want 0 and 0. And that's where it's 16. Yeah. Okay, no, okay. What happens is when I just type the code in to make sure that I'm going along in the right way, and I just change the name of my variable to match so I can function. But it was strictly a brain cramp. So you guys should function properly. All right, but it's 16. Yeah, because okay, so now what? Yeah, 16 is telling you what? Exactly, and it's an out of it's an out of range because if there's 4 students in class, you're saying find the 16th student, and the program's going to have no idea. Does this make sense? Does this help clarify just a little bit? Yeah. Because what we're going to do next is what we're going to go through a 4 in. Okay. So do you want me to go through this again? What I've done, or are you guys good? Okay. So now, all that fun and excitement, and we're going to comment it out. What's wrong with the 2? How many rows? You got it? So what Nick was experiencing was he had put in 2, 2, and it wasn't working because there's 4 rows, which is fine. And you think, well, okay, there's only 2 columns, so 2 would work. But don't forget it. Exactly. It starts at 0. So that's where the confusion was. Sorry, Nick, I didn't mean to center you out, but I think it's important that everyone shares it. Yeah. One, 2. Okay, so is the number? Yeah. 0, 1. So when you entered in 2, 2, it's trying to find this column. So as long as you enter in coordinates from 3 to 0 or 1 to 0, you're okay. 0, 1. 0, 3. Yes. But don't forget rows first. So it's going to be 3, 0. We're doing row second, which is the out of bound array. Okay. We could have labeled it maybe. I was just trying to speed it along. Okay. So now what we're going to want to do is similar to what we've done in the array. We're going to do a for loop. So we're going to loop through the whole thing. I'm going to show you a keystroke that's a little different than what we're used to. A couple of them. All right. So for a for loop, what's the first thing we do? For. Okay. Okay. So we got the bracket. Right? No, go ahead. Okay. What's next? Okay. Now you had said anti, which normally would be okay, but because it's going to be 2 different ones, I'm going to let's go grow. Okay. So int grow. Okay. Now this is where it's a little different than what we're used to. Rather than doing the length, we've got to do a get length. Oh, okay. Oh, there it is there. Thank you. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Okay, this is where the new stroke comes in. Here we go, row. So basically, all we've done is created a for loop which is get length 0. Next one we're going to do is 1. All right, so we're going to do what's called a nested for loop. So we're going to recreate it again, but this time we're going to call it column or COL. Okay, so we go like this, and we're going to call it displayer. And it's very similar to what we've already done. So now we're going to go row, column, and the semicolon. What's going to happen? What's going to display? Now you get what do you think is going to display? The last one, which is John Tavares. Why is that? Exactly. So what this code is doing now is it's resetting the next one. So what's the keystroke that we have to add to the label to make it so that it adds to it? Emma? The plus. So now what this is going to do, because we've added it in here, now it's going to say, okay, take what we've displayed, add the next one, and then add the next one, and add the next one. So if we were to run this program, now don't forget, all you have to do is click locate. You don't, no, Nick, don't enter anything in your boxes. Okay. We'll take a break in a second. So, what it's doing is it's not adding a new line to every iteration of what we've done. So it just goes, yeah, this is all so now there's a keystroke. This is the one that I'm going to introduce you to. Some of you I'm going to introduce you to. Others you've been intimate with it for a while. Is we now do a plus because we're concatenating. What I'm doing now is the backslash n every iteration. So if we were to rerun this, now at least it breaks it up and it re-breaks it. Okay, does that make sense now? What we've done, is there any questions on what we've done? Yep. So for this side of the room, what I've done is I've added the plus signage to concatenate, and then I've added the new line, which is the backslash n. So that's in quotation marks. All right, so does this make sense? Is this a little bit clearer than arrays? It's actually, once you start thinking about it, it makes it a little bit easier than single arrays. But what it does is clarifies. So this should help you along with your assignments, help you thinking a little bit more about the arrays if you haven't submitted them already. Okay, so is that good then? All right, why don't we take a 10-minute break? We'll be back at 10:15. Yes.
So this one is on the two.
Yeah.
And so it's asking everything through this method here.
Yeah.
Every time I calculate it, I only get the last and up here. But then whenever I put another value in there, when it calculates correctly, it comes up correctly. But I'm only getting like one value instead of getting like all three values together. You know what I mean? So, for example,
Okay, so you're getting the last one? Is this,
yeah,
this is exactly what we were talking about with John Tavares.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is you've got equals whatever that last query is.
Yeah.
So what do we want to add to this? What one keystroke do we have to add so that it says, okay, we want this, this, and this? Because what you're doing.
So if I just put like a plus in there,
That should
and like I didn't try to get it on the brackets.
Okay.
I made it like let's see, right?
Okay, no fill there. Okay, it doesn't like that. Okay, click no. And no, actually, so okay, run it and let me see what it's doing.
Also, I was gonna ask you, are all of them supposed to have all three options together or just like
Yeah, this one.
so it gives me the only the last one, the first and flatter, right?
Yeah.
But if I throw in like let's say 20, right?
What are you doing at 20 for?
Just as like another value to show that like if I put in one more number, everything comes out like correctly. So honestly, it's like just getting the initial value, right?
That's intriguing. Okay, so when you don't have whatever number you put in there,
Yeah, it only gives me
the actual first calculation.
no, the last one.
The last one.
Yeah, the last one. Weird, right? I was like, what's going on? I tried making this an array, but then it gives me errors of three saying that I can't convert it to a double into a double array.
Okay. Okay, but if that works,
Yeah.
even I don't know why it's not working.
Hard coded?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, that's right. I want to get your assignments in.
Yeah.
So, but you've obviously got a firm grasp of what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
so that's fine.
Awesome. Thanks.